I want to take less than 20 minutes to give a review and breakdown of 2021's Chucky, the television series. And so I want to do a systematic breakdown. It's not necessarily a review or analysis. I'm not going to waste our time talking about audio or soundtrack, giving it some type of score metric on a scale of 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5, or A through F. That's not the purpose of this. If you're watching the television series, one would assume that you're familiar with the franchise. And there's some overlap, some carry on, some production qualities that gives the Child Play series its own unique tone. And so to make my own review, it would be biased. It could not be objective. And thematically, what I might like may run opposite of what the series is trying to convey. So let's get right to it. I'm 30 years old. I was born in 1991. I've been familiar with the Child's Play series for most of my life. As far back as I can remember, my first experience with the Child's Play series, I had to be under 8, and I seen Child's Play 2. And so I could empathize with the Andy Barkley character being under 10 years old and yet having to deal with your own decisions at that young age. And so there was a gap, obviously, between Child's Play 3 and Bride of Chucky being 7 years. Now, this actually helped me because the first time I watched Child's Play 1 through 3, being that I was born in 91, I was 5, 6, maybe 7. So I couldn't really understand much of what was going on. By the time Bride of Chucky came out, I was really 7 years old. And I do remember seeing it the first year that it came out. Now, I didn't understand everything, but I was able to follow the plot, storyline, and progression and remember who these characters were. When Seed of Chucky came out, I was a lot older at 13. So I was really able to have an understanding and grasp of what the franchise was trying to say and what it was had going on, bringing in different elements of things such as the LGBT, taking on a more narrative approach that followed the protagonist that most couldn't relate to, and also having a more comedic tone that some didn't necessarily like or care for. So when Curse and Cult of Chucky came out, I was already in college. And so I was really able to have an understanding, growing up, adult view and grasp of this series. And plus, because it was such a long-running franchise that had so many gaps, I really got to see the whole Chucky 1 through 5 leading up until these points. Now, Curse and Cult, I consider that like the Netflix era. But I really liked it because it got back to the horror roots and left off of comedy. Which brings me now to the show in 2021. As a 30-year-old who's been following this franchise for most of my life, I can definitely say that I feel that it's appropriate that I can have an objective view of, is this show good or not for a fan? I seen the movie with the robot Chucky and I really didn't care for it. But let's get to what's important. So I broke it down into 3 phases: characters, kills, and plot. We need to have a real good understanding. When it comes to characters, you're either gonna like them, hate them, want to see them die, relate to them, or just they bore you to death. How can I say the teens? Jake was a different protagonist, to say the least, but it definitely helped me understand that Jake was the protagonist but not the main character. The main character was Chucky. And so with Jake, I didn't necessarily have to relate to him or wonder, oh, did I go through any of this when I was in middle school? Or what was my decision making be? Because you find out Jake isn't really important. He's not the old Andy Barkley. Chucky moves on past Jake. We follow the story through Jake, but Jake is no longer the number one important person for reasons that we know as we follow the plot. Now the adults, you either like them or you don't like them. They're developed. Most were flawed. Most had aspects and things that I like and that I didn't like. When the mom died and she got to see Chucky, it definitely brought open some possibilities of where the story could go. Like, oh my God, there's an adult who could believe them. They seen it with their own eyes. Where could this story go? Oh wow. And then, boop, over. It lets you know that death is important because it closes off storylines and potential plot points. It is permanent. And so by Chucky killing that mom, who really would have had a helpful impact, it showed that all the adults could get it. Chucky was coming for you. He wouldn't be afraid to kill a kid or an adult. But it also progressed the story, and it had a purpose. I don't think there was any meaningless death in the series that didn't serve some type of function or purpose. And let's get to the villains. So the villains, obviously you're going to follow the Chucky dolls. You're going to follow Chucky, Nika, and you're going to follow Tiffany. Now, I kind of liked it. You got to see 3 different versions of Chucky. You got to see child Chucky. You got to see adult possessing of human body Chucky. And then you got the immortal doll Chucky. And they all brought out different characteristics because Chucky's mortality plays a role. As a doll, he knows that he's immortal. He knows that you can't kill him. You can torture him, but he can't die. So he's reckless and he's just really living up that whole id aspect of life. Just enjoying the kill, the thrill, the murder, the stabbing. Chucky Nika is more developed. She knows that she could die, but there's no ultimate bond to that body because Nika is just a vessel. She has no main importance or ties to Chucky. Nobody does. And so, with that being said, you get to see Chucky, making out, liking the feeling and sensation, the pleasure of, being able to touch and feel things with a human corpse. So it's different because he's not as reckless as he would be in the doll. And you see an actor portraying the character of Chucky, which comes with different subtleties and actor cues. I liked it. And then the flashback Chucky, of course, when you got to see Charles Lee Ray, I liked it that at first it was kind of jarring because it's like, I know how this turns out. But that distinction and that uniqueness gives you a third perspective and you can say, it's 3 different parts to Chucky. Even though it's the same character, he manifests differently with different quirks, and I like that. It kind of reminded me of Cult of Chucky with the 3 dolls all being different despite being Chucky. From their haircut to how they talk to how they like to do the kills. Okay, now let's get to these kills. With kills, were they creative? There's this generic stabbing, cutting, bludgeoning. Those are the kills that you can find in anything. The electrocution, that wasn't exactly new because that's how he killed Tiffany and Bride of Chucky. But it was kind of different because one was in the bathtub and one was standing up in a garage. And so despite being similar, they were different. I wouldn't say that it was creative, but I'd say it was at least a differentiating spin on a kill. Could it be a homage? Could it be laziness, but you spruced it up? Because it's on even though it's cable TV, even it's not HBO, I was wondering how they would do the kill. I feel like for a TV series, that kill actually worked. Bludgeoning by toy doll. That was different. kind of brutal, kind of out, drug out. I guess it was supposed to convey some emotional moment, which I could get it from the actor. I got it. I liked it. It was different. I don't think there was any murder by Toy Doll in the series. I can't remember that. If there was, I guess it'll be in See the Chucky, because that's probably the last movie that I seen. Well, not last movie, but rather on recency, the oldest. That's the oldest movie. It'll be in the back of the list. Logic. Chucky pushing you out the window to kill you. That makes sense. Chucky killing you on the stairwell and then kind of setting the house on fire. It could work, but I don't get it. But then I had a talk with my sister about it, and I remember that, despite the fact that he was a doll, he was supposed to have the, strength of a human, which is a callback to Chucky Child's Play 1. Remember how the mom looked getting killed? Well, rather strangled by a toy doll? Definitely had to suspend your disbelief. But if you're going to suspend your disbelief for that, then I guess Chucky getting a drop on a child on the stairwell and being able to stab him, if he has the strength of an adult, is realistic. Violence-wise, I liked it. So I had no problem with it. Him pushing you out a window with a cart, I guess if you're caught by surprise, it makes sense and it has the strength. But that takes it into presentation, and I did like how that kill came across. Most of the time, I liked it how all of the kills went. Some of them are rapid, and I had to rewind it to watch what really happened. But from falling downstairs, breaking your neck, to getting decapitated, the presentation was pretty good. I liked it. They all have you would have to suspend your disbelief, but the logic of a toy doll that has the strength of a human, it came across how you would imagine it without a bunch of CGI. I guess that was practical effects, but it came off good. I liked it. Now, Junior dying, I didn't fully understand. It kind of happened quick. I knew he got stabbed. Maybe I need to rewatch that scene again. That presentation was a lot going on, so I didn't really catch it. I was just like, dang, you tried to stop Chucky, you got killed. How did you exactly get killed? Maybe it was the lighting. I want to assume it was probably more of me than the production, but hey, it could have presented that a little better if that's my only criticism. Now let's get to this plot. Plot. Narrative structure. I liked it. It wasn't a pure A, B, C flow. There were flashbacks. There were not exactly any flash forwards, but it was flashbacks, present, and then it kept moving. Now, in the past, you got to see child, sub-adult Chucky from probably when he was like Kid Andy's age, all the way up to when he was in the little orphanage. And with that, that was intercut with flashbacks to Chucky when he was already an adult killing people. And so that was kind of cool because it was like, wait, all right, this is a flashback. Am I getting child Charles Lee Ray, or I'm getting adult past Charles Lee Ray? And it developed Chucky as a person. And when I say that, I say Chucky was a killer who had tendencies, but you never got to know him as the person, more of the occupation, that being killer. Now, when you try to develop a killer into a person, and so now you're following the character, but you minimize the killing, that could go two ways. That can either go the Rob Zombie Halloween first part, where people like it and like the originality, but then once it gets to the killing, it's kind of mundane because it's like, well, I like the character building, but the killing is just boring. Or B, you could kind of go the Devil's Reject way, make everybody quirky, unique, but similar, and you just throw a bunch of shit against the wall as far as the killing in the background, and you get a whole quirky, unique, I remember this character experience. Now, that's not what's going on with Charles Lee Ray. Charles Lee Ray, his personality is that he likes to kill, which is back again like the Devil's Reject, but it's different. He's not over the top. He's a killer who knows he's a person because he picks up women, he smokes pot, cigarettes, wants to do dating and killing, but he knows my job is a killer. I like to kill. So personality wise, I'm a guy who likes to kill. And so his job is his personality, but it's enough there sprinkled in as a person that you can look at Charles Lee Ray outside of just being a killer. Really weird to explain, but it works. And the narrative structure helps expand upon that. Because see, when you look at Chucky as the killer doll, if you focused on the killer doll's personality, he's just a killer like Charles Lee Ray, but he's not much of a personality. Maybe it's because it's blended in with a bunch of different dolls. Who knows? But it comes across different. And this narrative structure helps because you get to see the past, him and Chucky, and then you get the juxtapose that against the present doll like Chucky, and then you also get the Nika Chucky who does killing. And it's like, okay, I get to see the different faces and the multifacets about the whole Chucky person. And the structure allows you to do that. I don't think that the 8-episode count really helps. It doesn't bog down the show. There's no stagnation. No, it doesn't stagnate. There might be a single night, and that'll expand upon, 2 episodes at the most, maybe 3. Like, it'll be the end of one episode. That same night will be the second episode, and the third night will be ending that night. And then a flash forward of a week? Because, see, I can't follow the timeline, but it's only 8 episodes in that first season. But what happened? It's been, a span of 2 weeks? A month? And so it's not dragging to where 30 to 40% of the episode is just locked in on this one boring plot point that you want to just shoot past. No, this show is moving. Chucky meets you. Hey, Jake, you want to be a killer? No, you don't want to be a killer? I got a kill for you? Cool. I'll lie to you. Well, yeah, what, Jake? You're not important. I'll find somebody else. Hey, do you want to be a killer? And so it's kind of cool because it's not the same redundant thing. It's not Chucky trying to convince Jake to be a killer for 6 episodes out of 8 episodes. No. Chucky tries, doesn't work, keeps it moving. It's not stagnant. Matter of fact, Chucky done went through a bunch of people trying to say, hey, you want to be a killer? All right, you want to be a killer? I'll try to kill you or somebody close to you. And it's for a reason. I don't know if Don Mancini pulled this out of his ass or if he planned this. But it makes sense why this is happening. It's not convoluted. And why I say that is because at first you would think, damn, Chucky's a killer. What, does he want to build a miniature cult? Because he could just kill all these fucking people by himself. He don't need to convince no kids to be a killer. He been trying to convince kids to be killers since Child Play, 3? But the little black kid, when they was like in the Navy, he wanted to possess him and take over his body. Like, Chucky doesn't need anybody. He could do all the work himself. Why? It ties in to the future dolls and the limitations of the voodoo, which is cool because it's 1, lore and world building, and 2, shows that despite the fact that Chucky doesn't need it, he wants to do it. Why? He's probably bored, probably bullshitting, or, he knows he can die. There's limitations. Kind of like Voldemort from Harry Potter. You might split your soul and have multiple lives, but your mortality is still kind of somewhat finite. So you keep on building those Horcruxes or splitting your souls into different Chucky dolls. It will mean he can't possess the doll as much, and he might have lapses where he can't control a doll for what, maybe an hour. His soul just falls out the body and comes back, or if that's only tied into living people, who knows? But it's not convoluted because it wasn't expanded upon. But when things are expanded upon, it kind of makes sense. And when you look at it, because you're binging 8 episodes over a 2-day span, how it just flows, it's like either this was a really good ass pull, but it's not convoluted, or you planned it out. But it works, and so I like it. The ass pulls though. Andy. Now, I was kind of pissed off because I was like, I know you did not kill fucking Andy after bringing him back off this fluke ass shit. And Andy survived. How the fuck did he survive? Andy was in the middle of that fucking room killing that goddamn Chucky. He heard somebody screaming. I don't know. What did he do? Hide behind the couch? Use the doll as a shield. I don't fucking know. Okay. They led the glove at towards the end. The cow survived? How the fuck? I don't know. Tiffany being in the back with a fucking gun. How? I don't know. I would like a potential ass pull about the amputee Nika though, because I was like, shit. What the fuck? Like, fuck, man. I did that shit. It definitely ended on a fucking note. Now, if they turned around and said, Nika, you were drugged and you're just hallucinating, that might be an ass pull I like. The ass pulls weren't enough to make me dislike the show. It was a pretty good show. So did I enjoy it? Hell, yeah, the fuck I did. I watched 8 episodes in 2 days span. I have a fucking eye issue where I have to go to an eye doctor and probably get LASIK. And yet, I binged the fuck out that show because I liked it. It was really good. So, final thoughts and feelings. I would watch season 2. I definitely watch season 2 and pay attention to it. I think I'll let the series end so I could binge it again, because probably trying to watch it week by week would probably be a pain in the ass. But I would do that if it came down to it, though. I like the TV format because it works. Now, granted, I definitely like that the child play movies, but the writer seems to be smart enough where he can have a kill every fucking episode, hold your attention, and balance a bunch of plot points. I think keeping it limited to a short amount of episodes prevents burnout, because a movie would be the equivalent of 4 episodes, so he's essentially making a back-to-back movie, like a double feature, essentially, when making a series. It'll work. As long as he has the ideas, I'll keep on watching it. 10 out of 10. Well, I wouldn't say it's a 10 out of 10. It's not perfect, but there was no metric. But if you gave it a 10 out of 10, I wouldn't dispute it because I definitely enjoyed it. Took me a weekend to make this shit, but I made it. So I definitely hope and recommend you watch it and enjoy this rambling thought of Chucky the TV series.